So, what we have going on today is random questionnaire day. I don't know what today's date has like a certain day attached to it, but what I have here is a random questionnaire that was given to me. I haven't gone through it except for the cover page. Just random general. I don't even know really like what's through here. There's like 8 pages of questions, like front and back. So let's just jump right into it. What do you like to do in your free time? Sleep. My free time, which I don't have a lot of lately these days, I like to get my sleep because a rested body is a good body to be put to use. So, free time, rest, sleep, be lazy. Am I more of an indoors or outdoors person? I would say 50-50. Um, I do like to get outdoors, get some exercise, get some fresh air, my oxygen. But sometimes I'm a homebody. I just like to be on the couch with a remote, brewski in the hand, or, sleeping. uh, so I'm about 50-50. It also depends on the year or the time of year. Summertime, I'm outside all day if I can be outside. Wintertime, I'm in the house. I'm at work. I ain't trying to be outside for nothing when it's cold. Who's the most fascinating person I've met? Whew, I would probably say it's a tie between my two kids. My kids are just ridiculously funny. They have great sense of humor between the both of them, individually and when they're together. They're just comical, and they just both have like their own like idiosyncrasies about them that it's just a joy for me to watch, and in that regard, it becomes fascinating. Um, but because I have two kids, I can't pick one over the other, and I won't do that. So both of them equally. What was the last book I really got into? I haven't read a lot of books lately. The last book that I really read like thoroughly was Wise Guy, which, if you don't know, is the basis of the movie Goodfellas. So I remember buying the book about a month after I watched the movie, and I think I read like the first 3 quarters of the book like in an hour because I couldn't put it down. It was just that gripping to me, and I ended up finishing it like the next day. So I actually read that whole book, believe it or not, in 2 days. Would have read it in one day, but I had other things to do that day. Let's see here. What amazing adventures have I been on? That'll be another YouTube post. What pets have I had? Uh, I've had a dog when I was younger, from about 8 to 11. I had a dog. It was a Russian Wolfhound, actually, and he was old when we got him, and he just ended up dying of old age. His body couldn't take it no more. But it was the dopest dog that I had ever seen. Um, him and I were like best buddies. Like best buddies, and um, I was like devastated when he passed away because it was on my 11th birthday that he passed away, and it took me a while to get over that. And I actually currently have a dog now who is a Doberman, and this guy is he's something else, but he's a good dog. I like him, and I wish he'd behave a little bit better, but he's still kind of a puppy. He's only like 7 or 8 months now, but he'll get there. We got some time to work with him. What is my favorite alcoholic and non-alcoholic drink? We're talking alcohol. You got to throw Bacardi in there. If it's Bacardi, I'm there. I mean, I don't care if it's on the other side of town. If I'm in jail and there's Bacardi, I'm breaking out of jail. That's just how it goes. Non-alcoholic drink, I would probably just say an Arnold Palmer. Can't really simulate that flavor. Half lemonade, half iced tea. It's just the way to go, especially on a hot day. You get that cold Arnold Palmer. You're good to go. What are you kind of obsessed with these days? It's funny that I really find myself looking at whenever I get the chance is like certain videos that are on YouTube that I like to watch, not specific videos, just videos that are of my preference. And reading the comments that people leave on there, it is comedy. Like you can go to stand-up comedy, you can watch comedy on TV, YouTube comments on some like music videos or things like that. These people say some next level stuff, and it's stomach hurtingly funny. That's that's just how it goes. Where have I traveled? That's kind of a vague, broad question. I've been plenty of places. I don't know. Went to Mexico one time. That was an interesting day to say the least. Wasn't there 2 hours and I didn't see somebody get murdered, but I saw a murdered body laid out in the street, and I was like, well, this isn't exactly the greatest first impression a country could make to me, but um, I don't know. I went to Hawaii when I was 19. Great trip. Haven't really been on that kind of a trip since then, and I've been trying to. So hopefully I'll get to that point one time or another coming up soon. What's my favorite restaurant? I'd probably have to say Cheesecake Factory. Mojitos, the bread, the cheesecake. They got that. They got a good macaroni. The it's like the fried macaroni, I guess it is. Pretty good. That's my go-to whenever I go there. I usually try to sample different things there, but the fried macaroni that's my all-timer for the most part when I go there. How many siblings do I have? I have three older brothers and three older sisters. I'm the youngest between all of my parents' children. So I got the baby treatment to a certain degree, which means I also got a lot of the hand-me-down treatment, which means I also got a lot of all the chores in the house treatment once everybody was out of the house. And that was no fun, but it really taught me a good lesson about responsibility. But I love all my older brothers and sisters. I think they all love me. I'm joking. I know they do. Um, Family's good. I love family, and I hope you all do too. What would be my dream job? The kind of job where I only have to show up for 1 minute out of the whole year and still get paid a yearly, amount wage. No, my dream job, what I always wanted to do when I was growing up was I wanted to be a sportscaster. Anything to be involved with like reporting the news, preferably sports news, because I'm an athletic geek kind of guy. But that would have been my dream job. It's what I went to school to, prioritize myself in, major in, and didn't, come to pass the way I would have liked it to. But things happen. You just move on. What would you do if you had enough money to not need a job? Sleep. No, I would just travel. Since I don't need to work, I mean, there's no point in staying home, all day, every day. Go out and see some of the world that you haven't seen yet. See some of the world that you've seen before. If you like to, make a repeat trip or something, go back. Who is my favorite author? Don't really have a favorite author. The two that stick out to my mind would be one, William Shakespeare, two, Ernest Hemingway. Um, and I'm not too in depth with all of their works, but you can't really go wrong with either one of them. Uh, you got the Bard and you got the great American novelist. You're not going to lose either way. So some of them that I have read has been a gain in my life, trust me. What's the last show I binge watched? I really got hooked on Designated Survivor when it was on. Supposedly it's canceled now, which is complete crap because that was an awesome show. That show had a better president than our current president in this 2018 year. Um, but I got into it. It's on Netflix now, so it'll be on repeat any given chance I get to, dive into a bowl of Haagen Dazs and just glue myself in front of the TV. What TV series do I keep coming back to and rewatching? Two of them actually. Three: Simpsons, Married with Children, and Three's Company. It's kind of ironic that Three's Company was the third option, but no, those are my all-time favorite TV shows right there. Um, just can't go wrong with either one of them. They're all funny. Uh, can't think of any of those episodes that they've ever made. Simpsons are like 600 plus. Married with Children was like at 100 and almost pushing 200 episodes, I think. Three's Company was almost at 200 shows. I've watched almost every single show of each series. So that's a lot of TV. And like I said, you can't go wrong. um, what hobbies would I like to get into if I had the time and money? Auto racing. I'm kind of a car enthusiast. I like driving for the most part. Anywhere I go, I like to be the person that's driving. I don't like to be the passenger too much. I don't know why. I think I've just been a driver for most of my adult life. Anywhere I've gone, I've been the person that's been the driver. So I just got used to it. But I watched Formula One. I got into NASCAR until Dale Jr. retired. Um, I really got into, how well, these people put effort into their craft, and what they do actually translates into the real world of driving to the common consumer driver. And it sort of piqued my interest about, man, like I'd like to get into that and see a whole different side of it. um if there was an Olympics for everyday activities, what activity would I have a good chance at winning a medal in? um that could be another YouTube post. Sleeping, because I probably can sleep better than you, you, and you. No, I'm just joking. Shit talking. There is no person on this planet that when I get going, I'm like, I'm the best when it comes to shit talking. But once I get my motor going, I already won the gold medal and I'm still acting like I'm trying to win the gold medal. That's just how it goes. So I would say, trash talking, hey, come at me. We'll shoot the fair one and we'll see who's standing at the end. But I can tell you right now, it's going to be me. Um, what would my perfect vacation look like? It would look like me laying butt naked on a beach somewhere, getting my light skinned butt a tan because I'm like really light, you know. Um, a little bit of color ain't gonna do you no harm. Got some cold brewskis right there on the side of you. Got a cigar, and a humidor full of cigars right next to you. You got, you know, naked women feeding you grapes, bananas and mangoes and pineapples. That's my perfect vacation. I'm still trying to go on that though. I was close, but like I said, I'll get there one day. Among my friends, what am I best known for? Um, I would say, loyalty. Ask any of my friends, even if we don't talk like every day, or if we go like a spat of time without talking. If my friends need me, they know I'm there. Um, I'm known for just trying to, be the funniest person that I could be around them, because when you're with friends, nothing should really be serious. The only time you should be serious is when you're like at work or taking care of, something for your kids. But when you're around your friends, that's downtime, that's relaxed time. So I try to very much so emphasize the downtime and relaxed time nature of, friendship. Let's see what we got here. Got a lot of questions. um, what are some obscure things that you are, that I am, or we're really into. When I was a kid, what I loved to do, and I tell people this all the time, is I love to read maps. Give me an atlas, give me a book of like maps of like different cities, countries, um, all that stuff. I'm going through every, microcosm, minuscule aspect of any map that I could get my hands on. And part of me still does that, not as much as I did when I was a kid, but that was just like my thing when I was growing up. Like as a youngin was maps. Maps. That's all I did. I should have invented Google Maps. That's just how much I read. In fact, they probably should send me a, intellectual property check, which they won't, but it's all right. It's not the first intellectual property theft that's happened to me. We'll get into that maybe. What are some things that everyone should try at least once? Whew. Forgiveness. I don't, and I'm gonna be a little honest here just for a second. I have a very hard time with forgiveness. I really do, and it's something that took me a long time to learn how to develop inside. I don't think I was born with the sense of being a forgiving person. I'll just be honest. But as I've gotten older, I don't want to call it a maturity thing, but as I've seen certain things and experienced certain things, it's just behooved me to feel like in certain situations that could call for forgiveness, that might be the best route to go. And I think I've enacted that. And I don't want to say it like selfishly, like it served me well, but I think for like my mind state and how I operate internally, it's been something that's been beneficial for me to learn, which I previously didn't. Uh, what fad did you never really understand? Uh, Zumba pants. I don't know if anybody if you remember Zumba pants. I mean, I'm kind of an old head, so I remember those. They weren't really mullets. My God, mullets. Who the hell invented the hairstyle of mullets? Like that stuff still goes on today. If you see a mullet, you probably know who they voted for president. But I just never understood mullets. You can go back through all my pictures when I was growing up. I didn't really have, great haircuts growing up. But I knew for dang sure I was not going to wear a mullet. If I left the barbershop with a mullet, I walked right back in, or I took some clippers and shaved my own head. Mullets were not going to happen with me, and I never understood why people wore them. What's the best thing that has happened to you this month? This is October. I don't know, just life, waking up every day, being able to be alive, like for my kids. That's that's what I live for every day, is just do what I can for them. So, and anything that they have going on for themselves, like that's the best thing, is being alive to see those great things for them. What would my perfect morning be like? The kind where I don't have to get out of bed for anything. Um, is there any art or artist that you are really into? This guy or girl, but supposedly it's a guy. Banksy is kind of intriguing. I'd like to be one of the people that catches him in the act of something that he's creating. That'd be kind of funny and revelating. What am I always game for? Um, Watching some sports on TV. Um, go to the beach if it's warm. I don't even like getting in the water half the time, but just to go to the beach on a warm day, get your feet in the sand, just hear the waves crash. You can't beat that. And you can't get that anywhere, specifically anywhere in the world. You have to go to specific places. So that's something that I'd be game for. What do I do to unwind? Uh, Nothing unwinds like wine. I like a good, glass of red wine whenever I can get my hands on it. My brother is an HR director at a winery, so every now and then I get a little stash of wine, sent to the house. Ain't gonna say no. What's my favorite app on my phone? The one I use most, obviously, would probably be either YouTube or Chrome browser. I'm on Wikipedia a lot. I just once you get to clicking the hyperlinks, you don't stop. It's like blue highlighted crack, hyperlink, hyperlink, hyperlink. Once you get one, you can't stop. But I've never done crack, so I wouldn't really know how addictive it is. Cutest animal slash ugliest animal. Cutest animal. As much as I'm not a cat guy, I think kittens are kind of cute. Puppy dogs are pretty cute too. Ugliest animal, any bug. I'm not a bug guy. Spiders, ants, cockroaches. I mean, who the hell invented those? I mean, I assume God invented them, but why? I don't know. But who are we to question God, right? Who's the kindest person I know? Um, Probably my oldest brother. Ever since I was, a young kid and, got to start hanging out with things. I didn't grow up with him, for a while, but, he was the kind of anything that I, asked for, he was there for me. But he just had like this really nice demeanor. I hardly ever saw him get upset like about anything. Um, and it was kind of like reassuring to be around somebody like that. Um, and you can't really trade the experience of being around somebody who has that effect on you. So I'll always be grateful for I won't call it opportunity, but the situation that allowed me to be around him as I was growing up. What's my favorite piece of furniture I ever owned? I used to have like this burgundy recliner. Oh my god, this thing was basically my bed because I'd come home from work, long day on my feet, sit down in the recliner, wouldn't get off of that thing for I think like 12 hours one time. I got home like at 4 in the afternoon. I didn't get off that thing till 4 in the morning when it was time for me to get up and start getting ready for work again. Sometimes I went without dinner. That's just what happened. What can I say? That thing had all the comfort in the world. What's the silliest fear I have? I don't really have a lot of fears, but the silliest one is kind of silly. I like to fly in airplanes, or I don't mind flying in airplanes, but I hate being like on ladders. I hate being like looking high over. I have a fear of heights, free heights. I don't like to be super high without some kind of level of support that would keep me from going over the edge of something. Really bugs and kind of scares the absolute shit out of me. Um, what would be the best city to live in? You know, Probably one of my favorite cities that I'm really kind of upset with myself for not getting a chance to explore until recently in life was San Diego. Um, San Diego just seems to like have like anything in that town that I could, me myself look for. Nice weather, um, good beaches, good downtown, scenery, environment. It just has like that kind of vibe for a person like me. Um, it just seems like the kind of place that I could really sink my teeth into. That's a metaphor if you want to take it that way, but uh, that would be one city that would be numero uno on my list if I could just live there, scot free. What household chore is just the worst? If anybody doesn't agree with cleaning toilets, I mean, what is worse than cleaning toilets? Um, it don't get no worse than that. If I could give myself a nickname, what nickname would I want people to call me? Um, it was a nickname that an old coworker of mine gave me because he kept hearing me say this word over and over again, just because it kept rolling out of my tongue or rolling off my tongue. Just when I thought something was good, I would say, "Oh, that's king stuff right there," or "That's king shit right there." When I say something's like really good, and he actually just kind of like bestowed that nickname upon me because I was always saying it right, and I was like, "Oh, I don't mind," but it was kind of ironic that in that same, breath, I was like, yeah, as a guy, you want to carry yourself with some kind of like sense of, regality, um, not above anybody else per se, but you want to hold yourself to a higher standard of the highest standard. And what is really a higher standard than being king of something? Right. So that was like a nickname that, you'll see it on any one of like my social media nicknames or whatever. Um, it's got to be king stuff. And I look at myself as, a king of my domain, however I can be, whenever I can be. So um, I wouldn't expect anybody to address me as, hey, King Mateo or anything, but that's just a nickname that, I really look upon myself. Um, what odd talent do I have? Um, I don't know if you call it a talent, but I have the ability to crack my knuckles basically at will. Um, it's kind of a bad thing, but it's just something that I can do at will, and I can do it all day, and it doesn't stop. Some people crack their knuckles, and it takes like hours for them to do it again. I could do mine within like minutes. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. um, if I could give everyone just one piece of advice, what would it be? Um, don't let anybody get in your way of whatever you want to do, and that includes yourself. Do not let yourself or anybody else get in the way of what you want to do in life. That's probably the best advice that I could give you, and just keep working hard at everything that you want as well. What would you like to know more about, or what would I like to know more about, but haven't had the time to look into it? Mm, Bitcoin. Um, I've heard some stories about some people that would have been like almost billionaires off of Bitcoin investments, and they just didn't have the understanding of it. And I'm like, dude, like, how do you go from X amount of dollars that are nowhere near billions to could have been a billionaire, and all it would have took was a few minutes of like trying to understand this thing? Why not? So yeah, maybe I should start looking into Bitcoin. What country do I never want to visit? uh I don't know, any one of them African countries where it's like genocide and starvation and, all these like internal wars with warlords and all this stuff going on. I don't mind going to any country. As far as I'm concerned, I'll go to any country because I'm a map reader, by inherent trait, I guess. But, why wouldn't I want to go explore these places where I was reading maps about and trying to study maps about going from this place to that place? Um, I can't think of any country that I wouldn't want to go to. Um, what wrong assumptions do people make about me? This one's interesting. Everybody thinks I'm a player. I don't know how I got that assumption made about me. I'm probably the farthest thing from that. Farthest, sorry, thing from that. Um, I, I don't know. I can't shake it for some reason, but I'm not gonna exactly live up to the assumption either. If you get what I'm saying. So, but I really wish that assumption about me would stop because it's not true. Uh, do I prefer to work in a team or alone? Uh, I grew up playing sports, so I know the concept of teamwork. I appreciate the concept of teamwork, but sometimes, as an individual, I do feel like I can get a lot of things done on my own, but bring it to a team concept as well. They say there's no I in team, but then I'm the kind of person that says you can't spell Mateo without team in there. So I know that sounds pretty stupid, but it's just something that I made up a long time ago. Um, what has been the best period of your life so far? Um, I had two different periods of time that were pretty good. 18 to 21 was really good for me. That was just, that coming of age stuff where, like, you think you know everything that you're gonna do in the world. You're gonna take on the world. You're gonna conquer the world, and none of it happens. But you have a hell of a time trying to get there. But the best period of my life so far has been since I became a parent. Because the world changes, and I don't care who you are. The world changes no matter what you think when you become a parent. And for me, it's changed for the better. I look at the world a lot differently than, I did when I was a kid. Um, I mean, I was 21 when I first became a parent. So in a sense, I was a kid, becoming a parent. But the 21-year-old parent that I became to what I turned into at this stage has been an adventure, and it's been a fun adventure. I always tell people the funnest thing that I've ever done in my life was, be a parent. So I would call that the best period of my life, definitely. How have I changed from when I was in high school? I got taller. um, yeah, I was not that tall when I was growing up. I had a late growth spurt. Um, and I know this may sound a little bit shallow or whatever, but with my newfound height since graduating high school, I've developed a little bit higher sense of confidence. I didn't have a lot of confidence when I was in high school about myself, about you know myself between the opposite sex. Just didn't really have like a higher sense of self-esteem, I guess you could say. But I developed that, and I think it was just maturity as well. I graduated at 17, and I sort of had to grow up pretty quickly after graduation. So it took some time, and I'm still not done growing up. I mean, I won't consider myself done growing up until I'm not breathing anymore. Because if you're not learning, then you're not growing. And why would you ever stop learning? Um, let's see here. Have I ever joined any meetup groups? I don't know what that really means. Would you consider AA a meetup group? I got arrested one time, and in order to get the arrest expunged from my record, I had to do 10 AA meetings. Um, did all 10. And here's the ironic thing about all 10 that I did. I always went out for a drink after each meeting because I was only there just to get the arrest expunged off my record. I don't have a drinking problem. The only drinking problem I have is that I don't drink enough, or I don't drink as often as I would like. But as far as meetup groups, like sewing clubs, like or book club, no, I haven't done any of those. Where would your friends or family be most surprised to find you? Sitting in my car reading random questions off a survey. Other than that, myself, um, you know, I don't have a problem with it, but people probably look at it like that's kind of weird, but I'll keep doing it as long as there's a good movie to go watch. If there's nobody to go see it with, I'm gonna go see it by myself. I'm gonna stop myself from going to see a movie just because I'm not going with somebody. It's not me. So if you see me in a movie theater by myself, it's not weird. I'm not doing no deviant stuff in there. I'm just there to watch a movie. What is the most relaxing situation you can imagine? I don't know if you can see that picture right there, but it's a cabana type thing on a ledge right there in front of the beach. That's pretty freaking relaxing if you ask me. What is the most beautiful view you've ever seen? The smile on my kids' faces. Whenever my kids smile, that makes my heart skip a beat, and they both love to laugh. They both love to smile. Um, you can call me the doting parent. Maybe you know, I don't know. I that's just the kind of person that I am. What is expensive but totally worth it? My son's tuition for school right now. That thing is really costing me a pretty shiny penny, but it's it's worth it for him. I think that it's gonna open up a lot of doors for him going forward in life. Yeah, it's costing some money, but the way I see it, you can't put a price on, a good experience and a good opportunity to go forward. And why wouldn't you do that for the people you love the most, which are your kids? So it's expensive, yes, indeed, but it's totally worth it. What else would I be going to work for if I wasn't working for my kids? I don't need nothing. So I would say that. When do I feel most out of place? I don't know. When I know I'm somewhere doing something that I really don't want to be doing, but I'm just doing it to be a nice person. And it's not so much, I don't want to call it fake because I don't do fake stuff, but it's like I'm out of place, but I'm not gonna show it because I'm at least trying to do something like positive or productive. But internally, some part of me doesn't really want to do things sometimes, but I'll do it just because. What is the most recent thing I've done for the first time? Read a long questionnaire in my car for you fine YouTube folks. My days have been, status quo for the most part lately. So I can't like really think of nothing off the top of my head, but this is pretty recent. How did I come to love one of my favorite musicians? I guess just exposure. I'm the kind of person that, weird things. I guess I'm attracted to weird things. So things that I know a lot of people that I may associate with aren't really attracted to, as far as like musically or anything of that nature. But I think what it was, when I was growing up, I watched Forrest Gump, and there was a lot of Doors songs in that movie. And ever since then, I started listening to the Doors, and they're a group from the '60s. I'm not from the '60s, I'm not from the '70s, but I'll listen to the Doors any day of the week. I have Doors alerts set up on my satellite radio, so whenever there's a Doors song come on, I just go to auto tune and boom, listen to a Doors song. Um, where would I move if I could move anywhere in the world and still find a job, maintain a reasonable San Diego? I already answered that one. It seems like the same question. Would I like to be famous? If yes, what would I want to be famous for? If no, why not? No, don't really need to be famous, but then again, I wouldn't mind being a Hollywood, action star or, something like that. But I wouldn't want the, you know, lifestyle exposure that comes with it. So if I had a gun to my head, yes or no choice, I'd probably just say no. I don't need fame. I like being able to walk down the street, nobody knows who I am. I've been doing that for my whole life, and if I was to do a big movie and all of a sudden people want my autograph, why don't people want your autograph when you're not in movies or when you're not famous? And all of a sudden you're famous, people want interviews and autographs and, personal promo, appearances and all that stuff. I could do that now. Why don't you want me to do it now? Do I got to be, well known for me to do that? What determines that? I can go into this whole other diatribe, so I'm not. But I'd take no fame over fame for 200, Alex. What did I do last summer? I didn't kill anybody. Um, last summer was pretty cool. Went to the beach quite a bit, or I guess it was this past summer. It's not summer anymore. Went to the beach quite a bit. Took my kids to the beach. Just hung out in general. Worked a lot, obviously. Tried to work out a lot as well, but not going so well. No, I'm just joking. I'm not. I'm not all soggy or anything. I just like to, spend my weekends out and about. In the summer, I work during the week, but catch me outside. No, I'm not even thinking of saying that. Now summertime, like I said, I'm outside. I'm trying to do outdoor stuff. That's my thing. If I live to be 100, would I rather keep the body or keep the mind of myself at 30 until I was 100? I'd say the mind. What would I need a great body for if I'm just completely, incapacitated? It doesn't make any sense. There's some people that probably would take the body, but for me, I'll take a 30-year-old mind and a 100-year-old body because I want to, stay sharp, keep that shit talking, demeanor that I've always had. I'll be in an old folks' home just roasting people because they can't make no comeback. It's like stealing candy from kids. Um, Before I make a call, do I rehearse what I'm going to say? Actually, yeah, sometimes I do. It's kind of, I don't even mind admitting that. I'll have that whole conversation in my head, before before somebody answers the phone, and then when they answer the phone, I almost completely forget everything. But no, I do rehearse sometimes. What am I most grateful for? Life. I'm breathing. I got oxygen flowing. If I'm alive, like he said in Boys in the Hood, I'm alive. That's good enough for me. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but I live by that motto these days. As long as I'm alive, I don't care what's going on. That's all I really need. What is the most essential part of friendship? Honesty. I guess that goes for like relationships too, but um, honesty. You got to keep it real with your friends. If you can't keep it real with your friends, you don't need to be friends. Um, that goes for relationships too, but as far as friendships, you got to be just totally honest. Like, if you even think it's gonna hurt your friends, you got to be more honest with your friends than maybe anybody else, because you got to be able to trust these people, that you're gonna be friends with. If you can't have the honesty, you're not gonna have the trust. When was the last time you sang to yourself or to somebody else? I mean, I sing to myself in the car, and Hot Joint comes on or something. Uh, I sang to somebody when I was 17. Um, it was just a thing that happened one time. Nothing. It wasn't like a big thing. I wasn't trying to like, you know, use it to curry my favor, kind of thing. But it was just like some karaoke type stuff. But somebody was there, sang to her, and it was a good experience. If you ask me, I'll tell you what song it was too. But you gotta ask me. I'm not gonna tell you right now. If I knew I was going to die in a year, what would I change about how I live? I don't know. Probably start driving a lot more dangerously since I'm gonna die anyway. Um, Honestly, that's probably it. I eat whatever the hell I want, so I'm not gonna, change my diet and start eating all this like, exorbitant amount of junk food. I do that already. Um, I'd probably quit my job since I don't need a job to sustain my life because I'm gonna die in a year. Quit my job, walk the earth, just be available to do whatever. Um, yeah, I'm gonna die in a year. I'm gonna go out and blaze the glory. Best and worst flavor ice cream. Best flavor, mint chocolate chip. It's my all-time favorite. Tied with cookies and cream. So I mean, if those two had a battle royale, whoever wins is getting my vote. Worst ice cream flavor, vanilla. I just don't eat vanilla ice cream unless it's like mixed with something. But if it's mixed with something, then it's not its own flavor anymore. Who is my favorite actor or actress? Well, my favorite actor of all time is Robert De Niro. People probably don't really know that about me, but I love Bobby D, Bobby Milk, whatever you want to call him. Y'all don't even know that's his nickname sometimes, but it don't get no better than that. I mean, just go check his resume. Actress, my favorite actress of all time is the lady that actually named my car after, Michelle Pfeiffer. It does not get better than Michelle. Michelle Pfeiffer is gonna be 80, and I'd still hit that. You can say what you want, but that's the truth. All modest, and she does good actings, so there's no loss. All modesty aside, what am I better at than 90% of people? Doesn't have to be used for serious. It could be something ridiculous. I already covered that. The shit talking. Nobody on earth talks shit better than me. Find somebody. I'll go meet them, or you can send them to where I'm at, and I'll settle that debate for you pretty dang quickly. What's the strangest phone conversation I've ever had? This is kind of funny. Somebody was using my social security number to start a light bill for their residence, and I found out about it. Called uh, the service company and told them, "Hey, this is who I am. That's not me, and I need you to cut that service off." Before I got off the phone, they cut the service off. But that wasn't the interesting conversation. The conversation, the strangest one, was the person whose lights I turned off called me and said, "Hey, why did you turn my lights off?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, how did you know I turned your lights off? That means you're basically admitting that you used my information without my permission to turn your lights on in your place of residence. That was an interesting conversation. And here's the funny thing. I had that conversation in front of a girl that I was actually trying to, like, you know, have a conversation with in person. And then I get a phone call about this. So that was an awkward situation. It's life, man. How much personal space do I need to be comfortable? I have a 6'5" wingspan. That's my personal space. So if you're shorter than 6'5", you're not getting in personal space, or you're not getting comfortably in my personal space. What's the most interesting fact that you know? I don't know if it's a fact, but I've read this multiple times. One of the longest rivers in the world is the Amazon River. And supposedly there are no bridges that go across it. It's like a 3,000, 4,000 mile long river, and there's not one bridge that goes across the span of that river. Now you think about like rivers you drive across, like on the freeways, or bays like Tampa Bay, San Francisco Bay. Those have bridges, and they're not even that long. But this is a 3,000, 4,000 mile long river with no bridges going across it. It's not that big of a river as far as width, but no bridge anywhere. You got to get across that thing. You're risking piranhas and bacteria and all this. Yeah, good luck. So I don't know if it's true. If you guys want to take a look into that before I get a chance to, hey, let me know. What fad or trend have I never? I thought I covered that one. The mullets, yeah. Who's your favorite character from a TV show, movie, or book? I would say Al Bundy. Albert and Jack Tripper. That goes back to my two favorite shows. Jack Tripper was just the dude. I mean, Al Bundy was the dude. Take your pick. I'd go have a beer with any one of those dudes any day and just talk some trash. Because those guys can probably go all day. What TV shows I watched when I was a kid? Those three were my favorites. Like Transformers. I watched the Saturday morning cartoons when Saturday morning cartoons were good. Seems like stuff in my day was good, and now it's just terrible. What do I like, but I'm kind of embarrassed to admit? Well, if I'm embarrassed to admit, I'm not going to admit it here. I don't know. I still watch cartoons, I guess. I'm a older guy, but sometimes some cartoons come on, I'm just channel flipping, like, oh, I'll watch SpongeBob. Or my daughter likes to watch My Little Pony. I'll sit there and watch it with her. Like it's my favorite show or something. Like, I know the names of these characters and, like, what their personalities are like, and I don't care. Say something. I don't care. What is the best meal I've ever had? I had a steak from Fleming's restaurant in Fresno. That steak was like meat heaven. This probably wasn't the best term to use, but no, that steak was the best steak I ever had. I left there just thinking, like, I could eat like 15 more of those and just die having a heart attack and I'd be fine. And it was on my birthday too, so yeah, that was a pretty good meal. It was a good tasting meal. It was on my birthday. It just doesn't get no better than that. So my favorite place to go to when I was a kid, I like to go to my grandpa's house, my mom's dad, when I was growing up. It just seemed like it was home, and I didn't live there, but I did live there for a while when I was an adult. But it just seemed like whenever I went there, it was always fun, like just always fun. I used to stay there like on weekends. I stay there like for weeks in the summertime sometimes. I just love being there. My grandpa was awesome. Rest in peace. I loved him to death. He loved me to death. He loved all his grandkids. Um, that was just outside of home. That was probably my favorite place to go to. Excuse me. What's the most amount of people you've had to present something in front of? I don't know. Well, I've been doing public address announcing for my son's football games this past year. Um, get thousands of people that show up to the games, so that's been, I guess, something that qualifies. It's funny because when I went to college, I majored in communications, and we had to do a lot of public speaking engagements, but it was never in front of that many people. But the art of learning how to do it was, a good lesson. Let's see here. If I can go back in time as an observer, no one could see me, and I couldn't interact with anything, when would I want to go back to? Good question. I don't know. Maybe the Revolutionary War, like when America was like being founded, like when we were fighting on Lexington and Concord, Battle of Saratoga, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that kind of stuff. Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, one of by land, two of by sea. I don't even know how I know all this stuff, because I wasn't really into the Revolutionary War, but the Boston Tea Party, stuff like that. Either that or the Civil War, seeing, those kinds of battles being engaged where this country is like really literally being torn apart, and how we ended up on the other side of it. To observe that like in person would have been something, to behold, I guess. What's something that most people haven't done but I have? Whoa. These are the tough questions, man. Like, I'm glad I didn't open this before I read it, because like it puts me on the spot. What have I done that a lot of people haven't done? Honestly, like I can't answer that. That's one of those questions where you take a test and you're like, I'll get back to that one. I'll do the easy ones first. And I'll get back to that. So if I don't, remind me. What says the most about a person? Their first impression. I think when people first meet you is how they're going to keep treating you for as long as you interact with that person. And it could be a coworker, it could be a person you're trying to establish like, some kind of like amorous, feelings for, whatever the case. But and yeah, sometimes you grow on people or people grow on you, but a lot of times that first impression, maybe you don't meet the eyeball test of somebody else, and if you keep crossing this person's bow, that's going to be what lasts. And how they perceive you when you first meet them, I think that's something you got to carry. Like if they don't give you like a warm approach or a warm embrace with the kind of thing, then that's going to be, how they're going to be towards you. And you'll see that up front. And if you don't like that about somebody, you're probably not going to want to be around them too often, if at all. What machine or appliance in your house aggravates you the most? Probably the air conditioner when it acts like it doesn't want to work. Let's see. What places have you visited that exceeded your expectations? I don't know. Atlanta. And I've made a post about Atlanta, so if you haven't seen it before, please go check back. It's a whole another answer. So I'll just say Atlanta. If I opened a business, what type of business would I start? It's not so much a business, but I want to start a foundation to help homeless people enter society. As far as like, real world skills, like job skills, life skills. Some homeless people have like mental health issues, so helping them have to deal with those kind of things. If I was like a multimillionaire or something, I would just do that kind of thing like out of my own pocket. I wish some other multimillionaires would do that kind of stuff, because they don't do anything other. they don't do other things with their money, so I'll be that guy if I ever got the chance. What's the worst movie I've ever seen? Uh, I don't know, seen overall. I know I can tell you the worst movie I ever saw, like in the theaters, out on a date, was Darkness Falls. Now you can go back and see when that movie came out. Um, that was like money just completely in the freaking toilet. I might as well have just set that money on fire. Didn't have a good time in the movie. And I was such in a bad mood from having watched a terrible movie. I wasn't really in the mood to do anything else afterwards. So that cost me a good night. What's the worst advice someone has given you? Um, I've gotten a lot of bad advice, I think. Worst advice I ever got was um, to move back home. Um, and I don't want to say that as a bad thing, but it was kind of bad. I should have just stayed away from home. Not that I have a problem being at home or home life was terrible. It's just I had the opportunity to keep living, the exploratory life of, you know, finding myself. Um, but I didn't get a chance to because I moved back home. So that was the first part of this. I will include a second part, and you'll know it's a second part live in effect from here because you're going to see me in this exact same situation. So here's part one. Thank you for watching and listening, and part two will be coming up. Oh, we're back for part two of this questionnaire. Sorry I had to cut that last one short, but apparently my recording time was up, so I had to hit the reset button a little bit, but it's okay. Just jump right back into it. Besides your home and your work, where do you spend most of your time? There. um, no, I spend a lot of time at my son's school. I coach track at his school. Um, And even when track's not in season, I have to, well, I guess I could say spend most of my time on the freeway because he doesn't go to school in the same city we live in. So I have to go commute to go pick him up from school. Then I have to commute back to take him back home. But while I'm at his school, I go watch his practices or that's when track season is not in season. Um, but yeah, when track season is, that's where it's home, work, track. In any random order. If I could have the answer to any one question, what question would I want the answer to? Why do women have a hard time trusting and believing in men? And I'm not saying that as a sexist, type of realm of question rhetorically or anything, but I just want to know, like, there's always like this, like, up front, like, you're a guy, so I don't trust you. And, I don't get that. Maybe that's just my house, like, as far as like, maybe that's just what I've had to deal with, but I've seen that happen like across the board as well. So, um, outside of that, I mean, that could just be, a conjecture type of thing. I would say, if I want the answer to a question, I'll say, why don't racist people admit that they're racist? There's a lot of racist people out there in the world. They're not just all white people, but anybody who's a racist, for whatever, in whatever direction they are racist, won't freely admit it. Like, people won't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a racist." Like, I don't like white people. I don't like Asian. No, nobody. You'll say subliminal things that will suggest that you are in fact a racist, but you won't say it and you won't admit it if somebody points it out to you. Like, somebody calls you, like, "Oh, I'm not racist. I just say the truth." No, no, no. You're racist, but people won't admit it. Um, what are my top 3 favorite things to talk about? Sports. Um, how terrible today's music is. And I don't know. I don't know. Pick something. I'm just joking. It's not an interactive conversation. I don't know. Food. I like talking about food. Food's good. What do I care least about? I care least about people's opinions of me. Um, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Uh, I don't lay my head on a pillow of people's thoughts of me, so that won't ever affect me. You can think of me however. If you think highly of me, I mean that's great, and I'll appreciate you for it. If you think lowly of me, um, hey, uh, God loves you. Continue with your life, but it ain't got nothing to do with me, and it's not gonna affect me. Let's see here. Where would I like to retire? San Diego or Hawaii? San Diego, Hawaii. You find me in either place if I retire. If I'm alive by the time I retire, one of those two places. Who was the most bizarre person I've ever met? I don't know. The person that I see in the mirror every day. I'm a pretty bizarre dude, and I'll admit that. But okay, somebody other than me, I don't know. I don't know. Bizarre. Um, there was this guy I used to work with. He was pretty bizarre, but not like in a bad way. But he was just like, I don't know. He was a wild card. Like anything could have went with him. But he was one of my good buddies, even like outside of work. I mean, we ran some trouble, back in the day. But excuse me, he was pretty bizarre. Like, yeah, him. It was a little Hispanic dude who was like really into like heavy metal. I'd never met anybody like that before. So that was pretty bizarre, but at the same time, like this is my good buddy, so I was like, I didn't judge him. And little by little I started liking some of the music that, he liked listening to. So but still, he was a good buddy. Just never saw that one coming. What are people often surprised to learn about you? That I think people are surprised when they find out like what I'm mixed with. One of the things that I'm mixed with, people don't really see, except for like the Hispanic side, because like my name gives that away. But I'm also mixed with, African American and Caucasian. People like try to figure out like they hear my name, they know I'm just not a straight up, Mexican or Hispanic person. They know I'm mixed with something else, but they can't figure what it is. Little do they know it's both of what they're probably thinking at the same time. So, yeah, I would say when I tell people like, oh, I'm mixed with like Caucasian, like really, like, oh, I'm mixed with African American, like, oh, like, well, I didn't know, like, I don't give off, I guess, any one specific part of it, but or maybe I do. I don't know. I just don't look at myself like that. Would I rather live full time in an RV or full time on a sailboat? Ooh, I don't know. Uh, Probably an RV because I think after a while I'd get seasick. I got seasick once, and seasickness is not fun, man. It's like being drunk without drinking. Like who wants that? Like if I want to feel like I'm drunk, I want to at least have the intake from it to have that be the result. I'd say RV, but as long as somebody else is driving, I could look out the windows, see the great American landscape, kind of thing. The sailboat, yeah, I could drift, aimlessly across the waters of the world, but I think I'd rather be in the RV. What would I do with the extra time if I never had to sleep? I don't know, probably work out more, but I don't think working out is really good if you're not sleeping, because one thing I think I read a long time ago is that if you stay awake for 20 consecutive days, you'll just die. Like, no human has ever stayed awake for longer than 20 days and survived. So, how long are we talking here? But I guess it's just a scenario type thing. I'd probably work out more. I think I lose a lot of workout time because I have to try to catch up on sleep when I can. When I was a kid, what seemed like the best thing about being a grown up, doing whatever the hell I wanted, but little did I know that comes with a cost. And when I say cost, I mean it will cost you some money to do whatever the hell you want sometimes. But it comes at a, moral cost as well, I guess, as well. But yeah, I wish I would have known that being an adult isn't always as fun. It has its perks. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed the good side of adulthood as much as I can, but there's some downsides to being an adult. Don't get it twisted. And anybody who disagrees is probably lying. But I would say, yeah, like paying bills, that's not so fun as an adult. And you didn't have that as a kid, but when you're an adult and you have the bills, that was the thing you were told as a kid, like, hey, you don't pay the bills, so you can't say what you want to do. Like, now I pay the bills, I can say what I want to do, but because I'm paying bills, I can't do what I want to do because I have bills. But every now and then, like I said, you gotta have fun, enjoy life, let a bill go every now and then. That's not good advice, but so don't take my advice if you don't want to. But still, you gotta live a little. You can't live in your own prison of life. What were some of the turning points in your life? Going to college right after high school. I mean, I had a 2-week break between graduation of high school and starting college. That was a turning point. I really learned that I had to grow up pretty quickly. It was fun though. It was like really fun. Turning point, being a parent, for the first time. Learning a whole new responsibility that nothing in the world prepares you for. People go to like college and get like fancy degrees and then they become parents. All that stuff you did before, that doesn't prepare you in the slightest for being a parent. That's something you learn the moment you start learning the moment it happens. There's no preparation really for it. Unless you're like one of those people that like, raised like your little, but I wouldn't even say like that's a preparation because, there's a big difference between like looking after relatives and looking after your own creation. You treasure your own creation. There's really no other way around it. Let's see here. What companies made you so mad that you would rather suffer bodily harm than give them any more of your money? I've had a couple of, not companies, but places that have ended up on my patented and world-renowned, world-famous blacklist. There's a McDonald's, not all McDonald's, but there's a McDonald's that ended up on my blacklist just because they're terrible service. There's a Starbucks that made the absolute worst drink I've ever tasted from Starbucks in my life. There's a Pizza Hut that I got a stomach virus from. But that didn't make me shun the whole entire company in general. I can't think of any company I wouldn't give any money to, like, in general. What small things brighten up your day when they happen? Small things. Does money count as small things? I mean, money's not that big, is this big? Like, this is a small thing. Like, that a penny makes me happy. No. Just the thought of my kids. Like, that's been a recurring theme throughout this questionnaire. But what can I say? I love my kids, and any thought that I have of, and I think about them pretty much all day. I got a picture of my daughter like right here on my, radio screen. just the things that, them being alive and them going through life, and me, seeing just them, and the way they want to interact with the world. Like, to me, like, that's a small thing, but it's a huge thing too. And I'm so thankful and so blessed to be in that situation. What sports would be funniest if the athletes had to be drunk while playing? Hey, here's a good question. Um, I want to see a drunk 100-meter dash. Because here's the thing about a 100-meter dash, you have to stay in your lane. It's not like there's barriers. I mean, there's lines, but they're invisible barriers. You have to stay in your lane. Can you imagine somebody running 100 meters straight, staying in their lane the whole time without falling or stumbling or running out of their lane? Basketball would be kind of funny to play drunk. Football would just be like the most dangerous sport ever if you had to play that drunk. Soccer would be twice as boring if you had to play it while drunk. Baseball players have historically been drunk during games, so that's not funny. It's just even more boring. Yeah, I would say the 100-meter drunk dash. Let's see. What's the most ridiculous thing you've done because you were bored? I don't know. I think that's how I discovered porn. I was just bored one day. I didn't reach out, and outwardly seek porn. It just happened upon me one bored night. What was I gonna do? Done because I was bored. Yeah, I would say that. If I could send one letter to myself in the past without the goal of making myself rich, no lotto numbers, no stock picks, except, dang, oh, that ruined this whole question. Okay, what age would I choose, and what would the letter say? I would send a letter to the newly turned 18-year-old version of myself and say, stay exactly where you are, don't do anything different. And that's for me, but that's for me. Open it up, 18th birthday, stay where you are, don't go anywhere, do what you're doing now. Yeah, that's what I would send. How many other countries have you visited? Just Mexico. That was just for a day, but that's not the last one. Trust me. I'm gonna get international sooner than later. Don't you worry about that. What is my favorite band name? Not necessarily my favorite band. I don't know. Genesis. And they're not my favorite band, or even NXS. I grew up in the 80s, so, keep your judgment to yourself. But Genesis was a cool nickname. I mean, think about, what is the beginning of life? Genesis. So, how can you go wrong with that, right? We name our band after the beginning of life. Pretty good, right? NXS, it's the only way to live life, right? NXS. What do you miss about life 10 or 20 years ago? The fact that I have to answer about 20 years ago is pretty sad. 10 years ago, 2008. What was I doing in 2000? I wasn't really doing nothing in 2008. I was just working. Didn't have much going on in 2008. 2008 was kind of like a aimlessly floating adrift year. 20 years ago, 1998. I was about to flip the world upside down. I hadn't done it yet, but I was starting. I was finalizing the planning stages of flipping the world upside down, and then 1999 came, and Yep. But ask me this question next year, and we'll get more into that one. Let's see here. Where's the best place in your town or city to have a picnic? The park. I mean, that's where all the picnic tables are anyway. What is your favorite thing to do outdoors? Run. I'd rather run outside than on a treadmill indoors. Can't go to the beach indoors. Maybe some places, but outdoor beaching. I like to sit outdoors at restaurants when it's nice outside, as opposed to inside. I don't care if there's flies or anything outside. Like, just give me some good fresh oxygen, that just blowing right there. And come on now. How about indoors? Favorite thing to do indoors? Brewski, remote, football, basketball, movie, whatever. Just, lounge lizard. Why am I getting so much? How often do I dance? Silly, ironic dancing counts. Anytime I'm in the car. I mean, if I'm in the car and, some old, hip hop joint comes on, I'm just like, right there. Not all the time, but it happens. Let's see here. What do I never get tired of? Being around my kids. Recurring theme. What can I say? That question sort of answers itself. What habit do I wish I could start? I want to be more of a, like, I don't know the best way to say this. I want to be more of a stingy person, like with my money. Like where I make this money, but I don't spend any of it, kind of thing. I just don't want to be, the kind of guy that makes money and then sees money like just go by the wayside. What's the best way to get to know? What's the best way to get to know who someone really is? Live with them. I'll leave it at that. What's the last new thing you tried? I don't know. I don't know. Last new thing I tried. Can't think of that one. Maybe I'll try to get. I still got to get back to another one. Who besides your parents taught you the most about life? Two of my older brothers. Hanging out with them, just being around them as often as I was. They and it wouldn't like be a direct teaching, but like just being around them and like being exposed to, like, certain things that they were around, like when I was around them, really taught me how to deal with certain situations in life. And it was a good, learning and teaching experience. When are you the most you that you can be? In other words, when do you feel most like yourself? When I'm free of being around people that could potentially judge me. And remember, I don't care about people's opinions about me. So I'm going to expound and expand on that. Is I like operating without interference. I'm very much a headstrong person. Some people will call it stubborn. I just call it sure of myself. But I don't like being told what to do, really, by anybody. Unless somebody's paying me to do something, which is, my job. So if somebody's not in control of what numbers go on my paycheck, I really don't feel any inclination to, listen to people about their suggestions that they may have about my way of operating. So when I'm free of that, I definitely feel most like myself. What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? Well, I'll say it's spontaneous, but it was also planned. Um, I proposed to somebody one time, and she clearly didn't see it coming, and I did a good job of setting it up, but um, she thought it was spontaneous. I didn't like have it planned, like plan, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to do it, and that's exactly what happened on my end. But the way that it actually manifested itself did come across as pretty spontaneous. The reaction, there was actually people around that reacted to it as well, so it was kind of a spontaneous thing. I never would have even thought I had the heart or the courage to do that kind of thing. But sometimes when you love somebody, you that's what you do. And it was a good situation, at the time. So it was spontaneous, but um, I worked it into spontaneity, I guess you could say, which makes zero sense, but um, it's just what happened. How different do I act when I am with acquaintances versus people I am comfortable with? Well, acquaintances I can be comfortable with. I probably curse a lot more around people that I'm comfortable with. Um, Acquaintances, I usually, hold my tongue a little bit, uh, which I don't like doing, but hey, it happens. On a weekend or holiday, what's the best time of day and best time of night? What the heck kind of question is this? Best time of day and best time of night? What? I don't really know how to answer. That's not really a good. You know what? Skip that. What are you looking forward to that's happening soon? Well, my daughter's birthday is coming up. I'm hoping she has a great day. Um, which is ironic because I completely bypassed the fact that my birthday is 2 days before hers. But I don't do nothing for my birthday really. I do now that my daughter has her birthday close to mine. I don't do anything for my birthday like on that day. I find another time of year to celebrate mine. So when it comes time for that, I'm just worried about her birthday. That's it. I've already done my celebration. What cheesy song do I love? Cheesy. I don't know. It's Fergalicious cheesy. Cause that's a dope beat. Like I like Fergalicious, cause Fergalicious is like a lot of people don't really like Fergie. They have some things to say about her. I've also made a YouTube post about her. But if you okay, let's say you don't like Fergie and you took her off of that song, you're still listening to that beat because that beat is dope. But call that one a cheesy song, I guess. What's the worst or best job you've had? Well, I would say my job currently is the best job I've had because it's paid me the most money. And I like making money. So I'll whore myself to my job now to make the kind of money that I make. Before that, I used to work at Marie Callender's, and that was probably the all-timer job of jobs. Didn't get no better than that. Worst job? I don't know, Burger King. Hated Burger King, man. Like, why I ever worked there? I mean, I I don't know. I quit on them, and I'm not a quitting person, but I was like, I can't take this place anymore. I cannot be here anymore, and I just walked out on them. I just couldn't do it. What's been the most significant plot twist in my own life? Stop going to school. Once I stopped going to school, I realized almost immediately how important education was. As difficult as it was to be in the realm of, getting educated, once you're out of it, you realize how important it is. And it's the one regret that I have is stopping my education at the stage that I did. Where did you take family vacations when you were younger? We didn't really go on vacations when I was young. Not that, we didn't want to. We really just couldn't afford it. I didn't grow up, in a silver spoon household, despite what people think. My parents were very working class. Um, we, as kids, went without certain things sometimes. But for family vacations, it was usually just to go visit other family that didn't live nearby us. Um, my grandpa, my grandma, my uncles, um, and it was always fun. So couldn't beat that. Let's see, what's your go-to funny story? Uh, I got one in my head that is always funny to me whenever I replay it, but in good conscience, my kids may watch this one day. I can't say it on YouTube. Uh, so, the ultimate funniest story, besides that, I don't know. It'd have to be something involving my best buddy, little brother. We've gotten into so much trouble growing up. Uh, there's too many funny stories. I can't even think of probably some of the times we've had the hotel parties at the DoubleTree in San Jose, um, doing the hallway dash. Those were funny. If you hung out with us, if you were that fly on the wall from the previous question, hanging around us would have been an experience. If the company I work for / college I go to, which I don't anymore, had an honest slogan, what would it be? Do what we say when we say it, but we're not going to call ourselves Nazis. That's pretty much the best I could describe it, because if you don't do what you're told at work, you probably won't have your job. If I could instantly receive a PhD in any discipline, including all the knowledge and experience that goes along with it, what would my PhD be in? The psychology of women. Again, it's not a sexist thing, but as men, we're trying to figure this thing out, ladies, and it would certainly help if you allowed us to expedite this process. Let's see here. Almost done. Would you rather have an incredibly fast car or incredibly fast internet? Fast car. I don't need internet speed. If I want my internet to be fast, I'll just drive to wherever I want to go get the information. I'm a fast car guy. The faster, the better. What are the top 3 social situations you try to avoid most? I don't know. Being around people I don't like. Being around people that don't like me. And people that don't like me and people that I don't like all being together in the same place. If I don't like you, I don't want to be around you. And if I know you don't like me, I'll do us all a favor. But I can't do it. It's not gonna happen. What friendship have I had that has impacted me the most? I've had a lot of friends. I'm not even gonna answer that question because I won't put any friend above any other friends. I love all my friends, so equally. Just not gonna do that. Let's see here. What's something? Sorry, apologies to disappoint, but I'm not gonna put one on a pedestal. No, it's not gonna work like that. What's something you're interested that most people wouldn't expect? I don't know. I like looking at the architecture of buildings. I go on YouTube and I look at like tours of like people's homes and stuff. Like, oh, like that'd be a nice staircase to have, or stuff like that. I'm into how not how buildings get designed, but the end result of them, and like how it all like had came together, or the finished product. I really have gotten into that quite a bit lately. which I wasn't really into ever at all before. What's my favorite quote or saying? I don't know. YOLO. No, I'm just joking. I'm not that stupid. Let's see here. Favorite quote or saying? Um, you know, way different than, you know, you only live once. It's like you're only given one life. Make the most out of every opportunity that you're given. You know, it's way different than that stupid ass crap saying that, 12-year-olds use. I'm not 12, okay? But you are given this one life and you have to make the most of it. If I had the power to change one law, what law would I change? Good question. That's a really tough question. And I honestly don't have the first thing that comes off the top of my head. Probably gun control. Like, I mean, the Second Amendment. I think there needs to be a more descriptive way of going about that. I think the general wording of it right now, a lot of people like take it's kind of ironic that a lot of people take that amendment word for word and say that is how I'm going to live, but then the amendment that precedes it, which is the First Amendment, people have gone completely out of their way to interpret that 100 different ways, but those same exact people will interpret the Second Amendment exactly as it's written, but won't do that for the First Amendment, which is the very principle that this country was founded upon. I'm not trying to get preachy here. I'm just saying, if you're going to go by the letter of each law or by the letter of one law, then go by the letter of every law. But I just think that guns have just been such a bane, literally a bane on people's existence in life. And if we could find a way to, better have control over it to a degree where people don't get hurt, unnecessarily or so senselessly by it, then maybe we could be a better place. What's the hardest thing I've worked for something? Whew. Not sure. I've had to work a lot of hours, at certain jobs, and at the end of the day, that's just for money. The hardest thing I've ever had to work for something that was meaningful, I would say going to court for custody of my son. That was not easy because, again, non-sexist alert, courts are not favored to give custody to fathers. That's just a simple truth. I don't care what anybody says. Courts are not in any way favored in any kind of possible manner to favor fathers as parents when it comes to custody. But I was one person who was able to buck that trend, and it wasn't easy, and I had to really work hard for it. And it's been beneficial, not for me, but it's been beneficial for my son and what he has going on in his life. I don't think where he's at right now he would be at had that not taken place. So, and I know that may sound like a one-sided opinion, but it's the truth. You can ask the other side of that party, but you'll get the same answer regardless. That's just how it goes. What took you way too long to figure out? That I was who I think I am now a long time ago. The way that I perceive myself as far as like confidence, self-esteem, not like exuberant level of confidence where I'm like cocky or conceited or anything like that, or I just think like the whole world of myself kind of thing. No, it's just the way I feel about myself, the way I, have my own sense of dignity, carry myself. I had that in me all along, and it just took me way too long to figure that out because I didn't know. I was just too young, I guess. What nicknames have you had throughout life? My grandma, she used to call me Tater Tot. Uh, Not sure why. I assume because it sort of sounded like my name a little bit. Um, but I always remember her calling me Tater Tot. And it never bothered me. It probably would bother some kids, but never bothered me at all. I loved my grandma. May she, rest in heaven. And um, like my mom never had a nickname for me. That was just the only nickname I remember having growing up was Tater Tot, for some reason. But hey, at least I had one. At least I was able to answer that question. What do I do differently than most people? Everything. And the reason why I say everything is because if I see somebody doing something a certain way, I will literally go out of my way to do it differently. Because I cannot stand doing anything like somebody else. If I do something like if somebody told me, oh, you do that just like that person, I'll immediately stop doing whatever that was, because it's almost unavoidable sometimes, but at the same time, I don't want to be in that situation where anyone could accuse me of imitation, because you know what they say about imitation, it's the highest form of flattery. And I'm not in the business of flattering people that I've never met or flattering people that don't deserve it. It's just not who I am. So if you say I sound like somebody, I might have to change my voice, or I don't know, something. But I hate doing. I cannot stand doing it. Where's the last place I'd ever go? The grave. Pure and simple. And here we are, the end of it. Ta-da! Last question. Who is the best role model a person could have? This one's pretty easy. How about if you're a guy, your father? If you're a girl, your mother. That's pretty much how it should be. Every boy that's growing up should have their dad. Not to say every kid shouldn't have both of their parents, but every boy should learn at the knee of their dad, and every girl should learn at the knee of their mom. I've always believed that. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to learn at the knee of my own dad, but as a grown man, I don't hold any bitterness about that. I spoke earlier about the power of forgiveness. And, I just think those are the role models. I mean, the people that, help create you, those are the people you should learn from. Why should you learn from anywhere other than literally the source of you? You should learn from the source. And the source of a boy is their father and mother, but obviously the father, and vice versa for the girl, the mother. Like I said, I'll always believe that. Now there's certain things that a mom can teach, sons, maybe that fathers can't. There's a lot of things that fathers can teach their daughters that, their mothers can't. Like I said, I believe in that, but it's not about separation of genders or anything, but you should definitely, learn from your procreative, gender first. And like I said, I always believe that. If you want to go outward from that, I would say find a teacher. I had a teacher in 6th grade that was a very, good mentor to me. He always challenged me to, want to learn more, to be smarter than I already was. And he told me, don't take my intellect for granted, because he's seen it happen to people that just, they're so smart and they don't, they think they've reached a pinnacle of intellect, and they don't want to, you know, challenge themselves or meet a challenge anymore. And he always told me, go above that. And it was a teacher that taught me that. So if you're not going to learn from your parents, learn from a teacher, somebody that is trying to teach you the world, not just, some, nobody hanging out in front of the liquor store who, no. Somebody who wants to see you be a productive member of society, Okay, so from part one, there was a question I didn't answer. What's something that most people haven't done, but I have? Oh man, I still have a hard time answering this one. So bear with me. Maybe I'll talk the answer into existence. What most people haven't done that I have. Excuse me. I don't know, man. And that is bugging me now. I have. I don't know. Okay, I can think of one thing, and it's so ironic that I'm thinking about it right now, considering what I'm doing. I'm sitting in a car right now, right? One time I sat in a parked car, similar to what I'm doing now, but it was 106 degrees outside, and I rolled my windows up. And I didn't have the car on. I just rolled the windows up. I was in the sun. There was no shade. And I literally wanted to see how long I could sit in my car on a 105-degree day without being in the shade before I would reach my absolute breaking point. And it took about 45 minutes. I don't know anybody personally. I don't know anybody that would do that. Maybe there are people that have done it by accident, because they didn't have no other choice. They were broke down the side of the road, whatever. I did it willingly because I wanted to experiment with the whole process of, self-torture, I guess. Even though I'm not into self, bodily harm or anything, but that was to try to teach myself about reaching a pressure point or a breaking point. It took about 45 minutes. And I don't think I'll do that again. But it was interesting to do that. So if you know anybody that will do that or has done that, hey, maybe I'll go, what was that question? Join a meetup group of people who sit in parked cars on hot days for absolutely no reason other than self-torture. But no, hey, thank you guys for bearing with me, both parts 1 and 2, if you sat through both. If there's any questions you might think of that you would have liked to see me answer, hey, drop a question. I'll directly respond. And as always, throughout these messages, I always like to say, hey, like, share, subscribe if you feel like. If not, thank you for watching, and see you guys soon.